In the 1960s, Egypt proposed a plan to revitalize its domestic aviation industry, aiming to improve the country's domestic civil aviation and air force equipment. Several aviation projects emerged in this context, among which the Helwan HA-300 should be the most advanced military aircraft project. The HA-300 project actually had a bumpy road, originating from Spain. During the period just after World War II, Spain was not doing well due to political reasons, and was seen as a potential threat by other countries. International exchanges and development were restricted. At the same time, the famous German aircraft designer, Messerschmitt, was also having a tough time. He was sentenced to prison in 1948 for certain reasons and was banned from designing fighter jets for Germany after his release in 1950. At this time, Spain wanted to develop its own aviation industry, and Messerschmitt wanted to work, so the two sides came to an agreement. The HA-300 was designed to meet the needs of the Spanish Air Force for a Mach 1.5 interceptor aircraft, and was one of the products of the country's transition from propeller to jet-powered aircraft. It was a tailless delta-wing interceptor, and the designer manufactured an unpowered model for testing. Unfortunately, the wind tunnel test was unstable, and it required a lot of time and money to improve. The international situation in Europe in the 1950s underwent significant changes, with some countries starting to court Spain. Considering the bleak future of the HA-300, it was more practical for Spain to directly purchase American equipment. Spain abandoned the project in 1960. At this time, Egypt had a demand, and the HA-300 project and Messerschmitt's design team were transferred to Egypt, giving the project new life. The first prototype flew in 1964, and the aerodynamic layout of the aircraft was different from previous designs. It still used a delta wing suitable for supersonic flight, but added a pair of fully movable horizontal tail fins at a lower horizontal line position on the tail to stabilize the flight attitude. Originally, the British Bristol Siddeley Orpheus 703S-10 turbojet engine was intended to be installed for power. This engine was installed on the first two prototypes. However, due to the Suez Crisis at the time, Egypt believed that it might be strangled by Britain in the future, so they chose to install the domestically produced Brandner E-300 in the production version. This axial flow turbojet engine had a maximum thrust of 32.4 knots. The aircraft had semicircular air inlets on both sides of the fuselage, and was powered by a single engine, with the exhaust extending to the rear of the aircraft. It had an empty weight of about 2,100 kilograms and was a light interceptor aircraft. It was projected to be equipped with two 30mm cannons and 4 K-13 short-range air-to-air missiles in the production version, a typical armament configuration for an interceptor aircraft. The first two prototype aircraft underwent 135 test flights, and the test results were reportedly good, with no major problems. However, due to insufficient engine power, they only reached a maximum speed of 1.13 Mach, which was far from the design expectations. It was expected that the installation of the E-300 would increase the maximum speed to 2 Mach. Egypt cancelled the HA-300 project in May 1969, causing the almost completed Advanced Interceptor Aircraft project to be aborted. Egypt did not give a specific reason for the cancellation, and there were many rumors. The mainstream view was that Egypt was severely damaged in the Six-Day War in 1967, and urgently needed ready-made equipment to arm itself. The HA-300 was not ready for service in the short term, and some electronic equipment originated from European countries, posing a major problem for future part supply. At this time, a batch of cheap MiG-21 fighter jets extended an olive branch to Egypt, so Egypt chose the quick and effective purchase plan. There were other reasons, such as India's participation in the development of the E-300 engine, with the intention of using it for future indigenous fighter bombers. India's subsequent withdrawal of funding had a negative impact on the HA-300 project. Another unconfirmed claim was that the design team had been warned by Mossad agents not to design aircraft for Egypt. Although it had a conspiratorial flavor, it was in line with Mossad style.